I think I'm a special one.
What are we doing? What are we doing?
All right, we're live. This is episode, 36, Chad?
Yes, sir.
On the Half-Turn Podcast. I'm in the stew. We got Chad in his apartment room. And we got my boy Dimitri. How you doing, Dimitri?
I'm good, guys. Thank you so much for having me on. You guys have run a great podcast. I love seeing the clips and listening to your insider takes. It's pretty awesome.
I think we should just clip that piece and put it in the intro so everyone's ready to go. That's cool. So just a quick intro and then we'll kind of get into it. Dimitri and I played together in the Philadelphia Fury fall of 2018 for a few months, and then just kind of stayed in touch. You know, the soccer the connections you make in soccer normally stick around, whether it's like, hey, what's up, bro? Where you playing, bro? That kind of stuff. So that's pretty cool. Chad, what are you wearing? What jersey you rocking today?
So just recently brought this one out a few episodes ago, but I got my purple Barcelona jersey. Barcelona seems like a popular team on this podcast tonight, but yeah, I think it's one of the freshest jerseys in my collection.
Yeah, I think it's the third kit.
It's pretty fresh. I'm not gonna lie, pretty jealous.
Dimitri rocking the Barca kit as well. What's the story behind that one?
This is This is a Ronaldinho jersey. He's the reason I fell in love with Barcelona. Really, the reason why I wanted to actually do Joga Bonito, that shirt you got on right now. All those videos of him, when you watch that video when he scored like 20 goals in that one clip, and it's like, don't ever grow up. So he made me fall in love with the game. I always wanted buck teeth because he did. So I remember I used to like run around like this, so my teeth would stick out. But yeah, man, for me, it's him and Messi are the two GOATs. So anytime I get to wear this, whether it's for podcasts like this or if I'm just walking around the house, I try to put it on as much as I can.
That's
sick.
What I got going on. Ronaldinho was the first guy to me growing up where he was like the superstar that people tried to be like. Like there was the Brazilian Ronaldo that like was kind of fading as we were growing up, but like Ronaldinho was like, he had the style and everyone kind of wanted to be like him. So going with the you two in the Barca kits, got the Ronaldinho. I'm rocking it. I don't know if you can see, I'll move my mic. It's just a Nike jersey that says Joga Bonito on it. I literally bought it from like, I don't know, soccer.com or something. It's kind of a basic like idea, but I thought it was like the sickest thing. I paid like probably way too much money for this.
Doesn't matter, dude. It looks sweet. I would rock that. I would wear that to like men's league pickup games just to warm up in.
I wore it to we had an indoor game a couple months ago. I wore it. And then of course we got the jerseys in the back, the custom Andrew Catalana jersey, the Ronaldinho jersey, Olympiacos jersey. Right? You're Greek, right? So Olympiacos.
Yeah. Well, I'm a Panathinaikos, so in Greece it's kind of like in anywhere but in America. I mean, maybe America's getting there in MLS, right? But your family represents a team, so it's like in Milan, either AC Milan or Inter Milan. Yeah. So either there's the three big ones are Panathinaikos, Olympiacos, and PAOK. So normally you're one of those three big teams. But if you live in a smaller village, then you're another team. But I'm a Panathinaikos fan, so seeing that Olympiacos jersey, my dad would be pretty upset. I wouldn't like it, but I won't tell him. But yeah, so that's the team we supported all the way from my grandparents, my uncles, my dad, me. I'll pass it on to my kids and so on and so forth.
How are they doing this season?
We ain't gonna talk about them right now. We don't really have to bring them up. They're not doing so hot. Olympiacos. So the thing too about Greece, and again, it is kind of, I'll use the sport like Major League Baseball. Typically, the team that spends the most money, has the highest payroll, will win. It's like that in the Greek Super League. Typically, Olympiacos has the most money because they're always winning. So they typically continue to win. Panathinaikos always fights for second, third, fourth. PAOK has made a big increase in their investment, so they jumped up the table. But it's Greece, man. Like you may not get paid for a couple months if you're not winning. It's different over there. It's not like in America. It's
like the like you live or die with the team kind of thing, and like it's cool.
So yeah, that's also real quick. I know we're going off topic here. I like the FIFA cards in the background. I love how you gave yourself a 98, Andrew. Is that correct on the right? The other side, your left.
Yeah,
my right.
So I'm a 98.
That was the one that got it. So.
And then is your brother 95?
Yeah, he's still developing at that point. He hasn't quite hit his potential yet.
Yeah, I have a
That's
legend
cold.
card. Andrew has a team of the season card with the Philadelphia Fury logo on.
Jeez.
But
Hold
I
on,
only
this
have
one
85 pace though. Chad somehow has 86. He's higher pace than me.
Yeah, that's great. Who's got bigger strength? Who's got better strength? Is the strength
Chad
on
has
there?
85 physical. I have 89
yeah.
physical. So of course I'm stronger, but he's got a little more.
I'll give you the strength. I'll give it to you.
Okay, that's nice, Chad. That's very nice of you guys.
The FIFA cards are actually pretty cool. Like if there was ever like a sponsor for the podcast, I feel like the FIFA card, the people who make those would be a good sponsor. And like every guest we have, we give them like a FIFA card.
That'd be pretty sweet, man. That'd be pretty cool.
So yeah, like I said earlier, like I think one of the cool things is like Dimitri's been around the game, especially like the sub MLS level where like guys are kind of fighting for contracts. You're trying to, hang on to the game and that kind of stuff. So I think there's like a lot of stories and like probably some lessons in there as well. So we'll kind of go through that, and then wherever the conversation takes us, it'll take us.
Sweet.
So Chad, just hop in with any questions as well. Let's start like where did you grow up? What kind of club, and like how did that set you up for your soccer journey?
Yeah, man. Great question. So I grew up in the state called Maine, which is not a soccer hotbed. I can think on the top of my head, there's 10 guys that have played remotely professionally. We have one current MLS player at the moment, a good buddy of mine, Wyatt Onsberg. He's the center back for Chicago Fire. Went to high school together. He actually drove me to academy practices because I couldn't drive. I was a young senior. So I grew up in Maine, played for a club at the time, growing up as a kid. My dad also played professionally, so he got me into the game, but played in a club called Maine Metro. From U6, I want to say, to U13, and then they got bought by a club called Seacoast United. Seacoast bought us, and then they bought the club, and then from there I kind of just rode the Seacoast wave. So I played from U13 to U16, just Premier, and then I got invited to go into an academy tryout down in New Hampshire. Played academy on and off, like because back then it was either you played high school or you played academy. You weren't allowed to do
like
both.
The DA, the Development Academy.
Yeah, I think now it's called MLS Next, if I'm not mistaken. So we had in our conference like the Revs, Red Bulls. Back then there was a team called there was two teams in New York. Now it's like NYCFC, but they got bought by those teams. Can't think of the name. But so grew up playing there, and then in the summers, my 18-year-old year when I was at Bridgeton Academy, that's when I started playing NPSL. Played NPSL at a really young age, youngest kid on the team. I learned a lot in those summers, and then played PDL, and then played in college. And by chance, it just happened that I was able to sign. I fooled one coach to sign me and pay me to kick a ball, and that's how it kind of took from there.
So you said going back to like your like kind of the evolution from grassroots, the Seacoast United. I think they used to have a PDL team, but was that like the top club in the area, and you just like moved up the levels there?
Yeah. There was only in Maine after Seacoast bought Maine Metro, there was only two teams in Maine. So you either played for Seacoast United or GPS that now folded. They had some problems. And Seacoast is now, there's only one team in Maine now, Seacoast United. So yeah, I kind of started off at the youth. And then when I got into NPSL, it was the Seacoast Mariners, which was the highest level for men that they had in Maine. So I climbed all the youth ranks, and then eventually got invited to go into a training session with them. Went training with them, and then they're like, okay, you can come play with us in the summer. So I literally, looking back on it now, I literally went from grassroots and climbed each level along the way, which was pretty, thinking of it now, I've never thought of it. It's pretty neat to like look back and see the tree that you climbed to get where you got.
That's cool. Chad and I always talk about like how we wish there were more like grassroots to pro or semi-pro levels, like even like an NPSL team, a USL2 team, like if they really got involved in the youth and had them funnel up, like you might not be developing first team players, but you're developing fans or like players that can aspire to get to that level. And it probably, like being in Maine, you probably saw the first team. I was like, wow, like the first team was NPSL.
I remember I went to an NPSL game when I was 15 with my dad, and we're standing there, and my dad kind of said to me, because my first language is Greek, so he said to me in Greek, like, you think you could play here? And being 15 and a cocky kid, I was like, yeah, like I'll go get my cleats from the car. And I'll never forget, there was a 50-50 ball, and this kid just, I think they might have been playing actually, because Seacoast had an NPSL team too in New Hampshire. They might have been playing the Phantoms. And this kid came in for 50-50, like studs up, just absolutely went through this guy. And I remember looking at my dad and like looking down at my skinny ankles at the time, and I was like, I don't think so. Like, no way. But yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think the more that they have, like, I know FC Motown, they have a pretty good youth, system there. And I think the more that they have that, like USL League 2 or MPSL, and they promote it and they show it and they allow you to go watch the guys play or train or whatever, and they invite younger kids, I think it's just like anything else, like going to the first team. I mean, yes, you're not getting paid, you're not making a living off of it, but if you have a chance to get there, it's like I started off playing for this club at U5, and all these coaches that coach me are now coming to watch me play at this semi-pro level. So I think I couldn't agree more. I think it would develop so many more players, have so many more fans, and it just brings it like a community closer together.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like, well, I think about this all the time because, like, when people talk about promotion, relegation, or that kind of thing in the U.S., like in other countries, you probably see it in Greece. There's so many clubs that they can have youth teams that focus on the long-term player development because they're trying to develop first-team players or sell them on. In a club like that, they don't have an incentive to just take your money and run at the youth level because they're trying to develop first-team players. So like if there were more of those, whether they're MLS level, USL level, or even like a team like FC Motown that plays in NPSL and USL too, they're not trying to just take your money and run. They're trying to develop players and a culture for their first team.
And I don't know, Chad, have you played for FC Motown?
No, but we've played against them in the past, and I know they just had a partnership with an already established youth club, which is called, I believe, STA. I think that's the name of it. So then they formed like some partnership there.
That's awesome. I think coming from, again, Andrew and Chad, obviously feel free to chime in. I think the more that you have those type of clubs, I think two things happen. I think one, when you see a bunch of kids get promoted to, they sign on to play Division I schools. A lot. I know FC Motown has quite a bit Division I guys. When you see people go through a youth team and you see, I'll use Wyatt as an example. We all watched him get, he signed with Dartmouth and then he was an All-American and blah, so on and so forth. When you see that, there's more kids, younger kids that are like, well, if this kid from Maine can play in the MLS, well, why can't I? And then that kid's going to want to train and be better and so on. It just raises the game. Do I also think that the other positive to it too is then it looks at the parents can see like, well, this kid doesn't have to just sleep, breathe, and eat soccer all day. It's okay if he plays basketball. It's all right if he goes and plays baseball on the weekends too. Like Wyatt played, I mean, he was a soccer head, but I'll use Wyatt as an example. He came through GPS, went all the way through, went Region 1, went to Dartmouth. And I remember so many kids would come and watch us play PDL in the summers just because he was there. Like, dude, we would get like 100 fans. 88 of them were kids.
Yeah,
like 12
because he was the local guy, or he was
me and him were the local kids, but he had a bigger name. And they're like, well, Wyatt can do it. I can do it. Yeah. And it just wanted more kids to play. More kids took it seriously, and it just raised the club to be even better than it was. And the more youth teams that can partner with a PDL or USL League 2 or MPSL, the more kids you'll see there be like, well, now I want to do that. And I think that is what the game needs in America, especially, at least in my opinion, more kids striving to play, USL League 2, which is a heck of a league. I know you guys both played in it or are still playing in it. It's a pretty good league. There's a lot of ex-pros. The more people that aspire to even play in that, man, like the better off America will be as a country moving forward for sure.
Yeah. I really believe in the, like, even if they don't, like, even if a club, like we just played this summer with Atlantic City FC, they might not have ambitions to go full pro or whatever, but like, even if they have ambitions to be something, like that has a chain reaction down the line if they have the ambition to like help the youth at that level as well. And you'll see that. Did you think, like, growing up in Maine, if there was no first team, would it have been a worse like youth experience? Like would you have still developed into that player? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Honestly, yeah, that's a really good question. And I've never thought of that. To be fair with you guys, both of you and your brother and Chad, I think I was really lucky the fact that my dad had really played at a high level too. So my dad played for the T-Men, which were the Revs now. He was the third string goalkeeper, played at BU also, played in Greece when he was a kid and so on. I think a lot of it came, I was fortunate enough to have him in my ear growing up as a kid. So I had him in my ear, but at the same time, I think if I didn't have that like NPSL team to look up to or like wanted to aspire to be, I don't think it would have changed anything. I think my route to trying to be a pro player, even if it was third division, whatever it was, It would have definitely been harder for sure. So probably I would have never been able to do it. But I don't know. I that's a really good question, man. That's a really hard question. To answer you, I don't think so. But at the same time, that's the route that I took. So I don't have any other experience.
Yeah.
I think about
that kind of stuff all the time, just because I'm coaching kids. It's like, well, what experience am I giving them, and what experience is like on the table for them? Like if they get to a certain level, like are there opportunities for them to go try out for this team or go move to this team or whatever. So I just always think about that. And I think that's the question that US soccer as a whole needs to continue to answer. There's never just one answer. It's just like, if we give a kid this experience versus this experience, how's he going to develop? And everyone kind of develops differently, but
that's what I was gonna say the same thing too. Like, and Chad, again, feel free to cut me off and chime in. Like you just mentioned, Andrew, every kid develops differently. Like I could be sitting at this table right now and I'm back home in Maine right now with my parents. I could be here and be like, I didn't play organized soccer till I was 17, but I played in the MLS for 10 years, right? Let's just say that was a story. And Andrew, you could have been playing youth soccer since you were 4, and Chad could have got signed at 21 because he was playing in a men's league team and an agent saw him. Like there's no like right or wrong development at all. And I think that's the best thing about this game. It's a game of opinions. I have a different opinion than the way you play it, than Chad may want to play it, than your high school coaches. And there's no right or wrong answer. I think the negative thing about US soccer at the moment is there's too many people that think that their answer or their thought is the right thought.
Yeah, 100%. And like, it could be their answer or thought on a ton of way too many topics as well. Like the youth people, they got to get involved in the youth. The business people, they got to stay in the business. Like you can't have the business people running the youth, and you can't have the pro club people trying to run other sections. And I think it's a mess because the people who shouldn't have a hand in things do
have a hand. No, spot on, man. That's a spot on. I couldn't agree more.
So moving on to like the next level. So you play NPSL going into your freshman year of college. Like talk us through like college as a whole. What do you think you got out of it? What did you miss? And like, how did you take the next step to like pro?
Yeah, great question. So I went to Wheaton College in Norton, Massachusetts. I was fortunate enough to play under a gentleman by the name of Matt Cushing, who has sadly passed away. I think the things that I took away from it, and I think if you talk to any of the guys that I was actually the last time I played soccer was last year in October. I was on trial with Flower City, Union and Nisa. Hadn't played till then. And then we had a Wheaton alumni soccer event and I got to go play again. It was awesome. But the thing I took away from my college experience, we won, by the way. We beat the current team, which is never good. The thing that I took away from that was how physical it was, like almost physicality for no reason. That was part one. Part two, all the excessive running that we did for no reason. Like, why do I have to go run? We played man-to-man, Andrew and Chad. We played a 4-3-3. We played man-to-man in the center of the field, meaning I had number 8. I ran wherever number 8 went. So if I'm number 8 on the other team and I know this number 16 kid is going to follow me around, what do you think that kid is going to do? He's going to run to the bathroom and I'm just going to stand next to him. And all that space is going to be left there.
You better be waiting outside the stall.
Exactly. It was crazy to me.
It's low key a trend in college soccer. Like one of my coaches experimented with that in a spring season. Excuse me. And like I've seen it done before. And actually the Earthquakes, San Jose Earthquakes tried it. Matias Almeida, he just got fired, obviously, but it's weird. Like
it didn't work.
Yeah, so it definitely didn't work. But yeah, like I felt that too. And to me, like that always came across as like the coach or the like either some of my coaches in college or the teams that I'm watching in college just don't have like an identity that they want to play towards, or they have an identity and they just lose it because they're so focused on like winning the game.
Right. So couldn't agree more. So the things, again, physicality for no reason, running for no reason. And then the people that I met there, like we had a couple guys I'm going to mention here. We had our captain my freshman year, who ended up playing in Germany. Andrew, I think you know Luke Finkelstein, played for the Fury also.
Yeah, he was there before I got there, but I've heard the name before.
Yeah, so he was a senior my freshman year. Just loved, he was a worker, man. We used to train all the time. There was kids also there like Mateo Goncalves, who ended up playing pro in Brazil. We had a all-time leading goal scorer, Travis Blair, who ended up playing pro in ASL also, went on some trials in USL Championship. And then we had guys that didn't play after college, but Brian Kenny was one. His IQ, he not only was his IQ really high, but he was very mouthy. So like we'd be thinking the same thing, and then he would go tell Cushing, our coach at the time, like we should do this because I wasn't gonna say anything. I'm a freshman. So the people I met were the biggest thing I took away from college, and I think the relationships you make in college, because you're all slumming it out, right? You all have no money, you're all eating garbage food, and you are just hanging out doing nothing. It's the only time in your life. I didn't drink in college, but it's the only time in your life when you can be an unemployed alcoholic and your parents are proud of you. It's the only time in your life. Like it is. Let's think of it. Like think of it. You have no job, you have no money, but you drink every weekend. It's the only time in your life when your parents are like, "That's my son. I am so proud that he's my son." It's the only time. Yeah, go get him. So those are the things, man. The things I took, and then I couldn't agree more. Like if you also were to look at the big picture, and you guys both played college, we played a year's worth of college soccer that mattered in 4 years while we were there, because the season's 3 months long. So I'm no mathematician. 3 times 4 is 12. There's 12 months in a year. That's 1 year. So and you're playing a game every 3 days. Development wasn't great. It was not good at all. I didn't develop much in college, other than in the weight room. All my learning I did and all the things I got were on my own. Touches, training by myself, running in the morning, everything I had to do on my own. But yeah, I think it was a mix. It was a bunch of good and some bad for sure. And I think the system, again, going back to United States soccer, and if college wants to stay relevant as we continue to go to MLS next and so on, they got to go to a full season. It has to be a full season. It can't be 3 months anymore. It's got to be 8-9 months. It has to be.
Yeah,
it has to for sure. What about you guys? What's you guys' experience in college? What was your experience?
The pretty much the same. I know they're voting on the fall spring season soon. Yep. I felt the same way. Like to me, I was a late developer in soccer, so like I was never one of the better ones growing up. Part of that was like maybe I wasn't in the right environment. And like in college, I don't think I found that environment either, but like it gave me time to like play for something meaningful, like obviously doing something important in school, play for something meaningful. And like it let me figure things out. Right. So I'd go into a season thinking like, I trained so hard, I did this, but it doesn't really translate to the games. Or like, I think I'm going to play, I don't know, left back. So I just work on playing left back all the time, but that's not really how the game works. You can't isolate yourself in the game. And then like, you get one bad stretch of games or an injury or like lose confidence and like 75% of your season's gone. And, you know, and you don't have enough time to figure it out because you're not training and competing all the time in practice.
Yeah.
Or, you know.
What about you, Chad?
Chad's a young buck. He just got done college. So what do you think, Chad?
Yeah. Where'd you go?
I went to Immaculata University in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
So right off the bat, I started getting minutes playing in all the games and stuff, but you know, it's kind of Division III level. No one really takes it as serious. You know, if you get on someone at practice, you know, like it's like, why are you yelling at me? It's like I just in like the competition is not really there. But I know right now they're they did vote for that some NCAA rules to change. I know they just took away overtime. No overtime in the regular season for all NCAA. Yeah.
What are they going to do now? Just end in a tie?
Yeah. Regular season games end in a tie. Playoff games go 2 10-minute halves. No more golden goal.
Golden goal is college soccer. Like that's the definition of college soccer.
It literally is college soccer. So
no more golden goal. So what is it? Just PKs now? After 10 minutes? 2 minutes?
2 10 minutes and then penalty kicks.
Oh my days. That's terrible.
I would love to see college soccer go to throughout the fall, maybe hit Thanksgiving, go month and a half break, winter break. I mean, tons of leagues in Europe do that already, like Germany.
Right.
They hop right back in for the spring, you know.
It would be just like the old I don't know if you guys remember the old NASL schedule. That's what the old NASL schedule used to be like. It used to be just like a European. I know NISA kind of is trying to they did model it, but then they just switched to the same thing as USL Championship. But I think development wise, like I personally believe, and I have some friends that are coaching in college, and this isn't a knock to them. I truly think as MLS Next grows and more kids sign youth, homegrown contracts, I think it's going to be just like in Europe. Like, yeah, you can go play college, like go ahead, have fun, but you're not going to sign a pro contract after. I think if they don't adapt to the times, I think college soccer will eventually be extinct in the sense of You're not getting, maybe you get 1 or 2 players out of college now, as opposed to you have a draft where you're drafting 50 kids, right? I think that's the path that if a country like the United States, which we should be competing, and God, they made a World Cup, so credit to them, and they've done wonderful steps in that regard. For them to continue to develop more players at a higher rate, they have to change the college model. Like you can't have a 3-month season and then be like, all right, go play 9 months with a bunch of pros and bringing in guys like Chicharito and having these type of guys come in from big Spain, like Benzema, Higuain, whatever, so I think it has to change. And I think the three of us have just mentioned a lot of the flaws about college soccer, especially at Division III level. I think we could all agree the best thing about playing college soccer is the people that you met and the connections.
Boys like playing all the time. Like,
yeah, man, you're playing all the time. And I think the craziest thing too about college soccer, at least in my experience with Coach Cushing, again, God rest his soul, is his whole philosophy was, I'm going to make you guys all kind of crazy. We're not going to be the prettiest team, but we're going to get results. Yeah. And you're not all going to like me. You're one thing you guys are all going to have in common is you guys are all going to dislike me. You're going to talk about me. And that's how we became closer. And it's kind of like, he did a wonderful job. Like the guy was an amazing person off the field, and I don't mean to talk about him. Again, he has passed away, so I kind of want to give him a shout out. But yeah, man, I think college sports, especially the soccer realm, it's completely different than football, basketball, hockey. It's a completely different sport. So it's needed to have different, develop players differently than those others for sure.
I also want to say real quick, I think it is cool what MLS teams are doing. Like, if some of these players in MLS academies get to the age of 18, 19, gotta decide if they go to college or maybe they can't stick around with the first team. I mean, they'll go to a top college and it'll kind of be like a loan because they'll have the right. The MLS teams will have the rights for that player to come back.
Loans them to University of Virginia or something, or like Wake Forest.
Yeah, we've seen it all the time with the Union. Like the Union have a few players out playing college. They'll come back maybe.
The only bad thing about that, though, is, and Andrew, I didn't mean to cut you off. The only thing that I have a couple buddies that have been in that situation. One of them I ended up playing with at Stumptown when I was on trial there. He had his rights owned by another MLS team. And then when he went on trial with Inter Miami, he was on trial with their USL League One team, and they wouldn't allow him to sign a contract there because they owned his rights. So they had no intention of signing this kid, but he was on trial with Inter Miami, and Inter Miami wanted to sign him, but did not want to pay the rights fee to get him. So it was like $15,000.
Yeah.
But they're like, why would I pay $15,000 for this kid? I can go sign a homegrown kid for $800 a month. This kid's asking for $2,000, and they want me to pay $15,000 for this guy. Like, who is this kid? So I think it is cool for sure, but I think it also, again, the business side of the soccer, they're not just going to let their homegrown guys that they have rights to go someplace else, right? So I think, again, that has to be sorted. I'm not in the rooms every day talking about that, but I think that is pretty cool, to be honest. That is pretty sweet, Chad. For sure.
That's I think college soccer will get fixed, or like at least they'll come up with some solution that's better than what it is now. Right. I think there's also there's room for college soccer in the ecosystem, whether not everyone's ready to go pro. And I think you see a lot of these teams that pop up in these kind of year-long amateur leagues, like a UPSL, that they'll just go play instead of go to college soccer, which is okay. Like, not everyone wants to go to college and play. And maybe there's two different paths, but I think college could do a better job of getting on that path. And I've actually heard teams or people talk about what if we got, take the ACC, what if Duke and North Carolina soccer teams were part of the US soccer ecosystem and they played against NISA teams or USL championship teams? Or what if a team, for example, there's I think Appalachian State, they cut their college soccer program, but some guy started Appalachian FC, the NPSL team, which is actually sick branding. It's what if these colleges, they're not going to drop out of the NCAA, but what if somebody they started their own club based around the college team? There's just a lot of different possibilities that could be better.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, again, I there's so many cool things that you can do within this game. And I think the United States as a whole, as a soccer federation, are just starting to figure out all the gaps that they can, kind of fill it and the routes they can go, for sure.
And it by filling in the gaps, you got that right, because there's no right answer right now. And a lot of times like, I really like what Nice is doing, or USL League One or NPSL, but that might not be the same in 10 years, but because they took the step to try and get there, it'll work out in 15 and 20 years. It'll be because they took those steps now.
Yeah. Andrew, we were at the front runners of Nisa. You know that, correct? ASL
we were like the
turned
first
into
club in Nisa. We were on the
no,
website, man.
if you I know, seriously, if you think about it though, what ASL was and what it ended up, they took that model and ended up making Nisa out of it, which was unfortunately, we can get into that. We can go to the next topic, but I'll save that till we get there. I'll save that. Hold on. I'll save it.
So let's go to the next. So you graduate from college.
Yep.
Like, what was the next step? And do you think you were equipped for that next step? Like, were you a standout in college in the fact that, like, people were like, oh, wow, Dimitri's going to the next level? And were you actually prepared for that?
No, I kind of like you, Andrew. I was a little bit of a late bloomer. I still am a very firm believer that your feet are just tools and your brain is the one that does all the work in this game, where a lot of people, it's the other way around. Your feet are the one that are the thinkers and your brain doesn't matter. If you can run and kick it far, you're good, kind of thing, which ticks me off. So in college, in the summers, I was playing PDL, which is now USL League 2. And I kind of was at a game again. I'm going to use Wyatt because, again, shout out Wyatt. Great career. Go check him out if you don't know him. Awesome dude. Salt of the earth guy. There were a game that we played against. I played against him. He was playing for the Seacoast Phantoms. We were losing 3-4-0. I ended up playing. I was playing in that game, and I guess I had a good game. There was a couple agents there to watch him. The agent that he did not end up signing on with, if I'm not mistaken, ended up reaching out to myself and got me a trial with the New York Cosmos, which were in the NASL at the time. They ended up, when I got there, ended up going into another league and so on. But that was my next step. So I went from, the funny story about that is, like, I remember I was in the cafeteria, got this, I don't know about you guys, but when I get a call from like an unknown number, I just decline it. Like, I don't answer it. But the unknown number, like, called me 3 times in a row. So on the third call, I picked up and he's like, hey, this is Tony Porch, who was my agent. I got you a trial with the Cosmos. You got to be there on Monday. And it was Thursday. And I was like, well, how am I getting there? And he's like, I'll take care of everything. Just drive there. You have a place to stay, so on and so forth. So I walked into that locker room, and the head coach at the time was Carlos Mendez. Had a heck of a career for the New York Red Bulls, played over 250 MLS games, actually has a street named after him in Long Island. Awesome guy. And in that locker room was a prominent person by the name of Danny Zatella. I don't know if that name sounds familiar to you guys or not. He played for the U.S. national team, played in the MLS, played over in La Liga. I'm going to get up his thing right here so I can have all the correct information. Played over in La Liga, played, let's see, so he played for the Columbus Crew, played in La Liga for Racing D Centaur and in La Liga, then played in Serie B, played for DC United, and then ended up coming to New York Cosmos. And then he played for our national team. I think he made 4 or 5 caps, and he was over there. And then we had Chris Winger, who was also there, just retired from playing for Real Salt Lake, had 300 games.
I remember him.
So those are the guys in that locker room. So I remember the first day I walked in, and this is my first day there, Andrew. And I was fortunate enough to sit next to Danny. We also had Bleddy. Bleddy was there too. Prominent NPSL New York, player around there. And Danny kind of sat me down, and I'm sitting next to Danny, and he's like, hey man, like, how you liking it? And then my response was like, yeah, it's so far. I literally was there for an hour. Like, yeah, this is great. Like, the facilities were awesome. How do you think you're going to get into the starting 11? And I was like, I think I'm just going to have to work hard. And if I get there, I get there. And he's like, what position do you play? And I was like, I play holding center mid. He's like, well, I do too. And I'm the captain. And he was like, and this wasn't him trying to be rude. This was him trying to show me, like, this is the world you're entering. And he was like, this is how I feed my family. This is how I pay my bills. He's like, do you think I'm going to give you my shirt off my back and say, here you go, Dimitri, play? And that was my first enter into pro sports. This is a dog eats dog world. No one's here to hold your hand like in a college. And was I ready for it? Mentally, I thought I was, as in the sense of like what it's like to be a pro, meaning you're waking up at 8, you're training from 10 to 11:30, you have lunch, breakfast before, and then the rest of your day, you do nothing. Mentally, I thought I could handle all that alone time. I just ended up playing a lot of video games, taking a lot of naps, staying up way too late for no reason. IQ wise in the level of soccer, I think it's exactly what I wanted. there was an adjustment period. The level of play was through the roof. We had a guy by the name of Jonathan Neekins who was there. His father played for Barcelona. He grew up in Amsterdam. You know when you hit a long ball, Andrew and Chad, with your laces, and you hear that pop of a ball, and you see the ball just take off the foot? He was doing that with the inside of his foot. Like, he would hit the ball that hard. He had the ability to hit the ball on the ground that hard with the inside of his foot. And to me, that was phenomenal. Like, I couldn't understand it. But yeah, that was the next step. That was the first step I took to the New York Cosmos. Had a great time there. Phenomenal learning lessons. I learned what it was like to be a pro. I got to watch Danny train every day, and I never saw him lose the ball in my 5 months there. I don't think he might have lost the ball one time. Probably my fault giving him a shit pass, and it lost it. So I learned so much for sure.
When I started to really get into soccer, like obviously the union coming around helped that, the U.S. national team. So I would follow a lot of these teams on Twitter and like soccer writers and stuff. So I ended up like learning a lot just about like other teams, and like I ended up following the Cosmos because I thought it was cool. I didn't really know much about the NASL, but now that you're saying this, now that I realize it, like the Cosmos were like an outside of the box team compared to other US teams. It was very much like a European based, like, like they would fit in well in Europe in terms of like, I think how they went about like their player recruitment. Their owner was always on the forefront of like trying to get promotion relegation and like thinking like more outside the box, very like anti establishment with the MLS. So I think they ran their club like a European team would. So it makes sense that they have these guys that are above the level.
We had the owner of the Cosmos. He still owns the team now. His name is Rocco. He actually bought Fiorentina in Italy. And he, at the moment, I think he's in a lawsuit still with the United States Soccer Federation because he's trying to get promotion relegation. And I think he also offered to buy, I want to say the TV rights to the MLS, or it might have. I think he offered to buy the TV rights, or maybe the league of MLS. I don't know exactly. But he offered to buy something of the MLS, and they said no because his whole thing was, I'll buy it and I will run it, and it'll be fine, but I want promotion relegation. And
it was fair value too. He offered like a good price for, I think it was like the Soccer United marketing like TV deal, because it wasn't that much. And he was like, no, I'll buy it. We'll institute promotion relegation. They just like said no. But it was a good deal.
Yeah, it was a great deal. I mean, and that was my situation at the Cosmos. Like we had another guy by the name of Junior Bogas who was there. Alexis Vidia, who was there, played for the national team. He signed an NASL contract at 16. Like there were so many guys. We had this kid by the name of Ruben Bover, who's now back in Spain playing in the second division. This guy looked like he was 16 years old. 16. Guys, he would run the whole game, always be in the right spot. He was playing as a 10. He would pick up his head. He would be the one going to get the ball from the goalkeeper in the build-up. And then he would play the ball wide. Then he would be the one tapping the ball in back post. He was phenomenal. Like the level of players there. Granted, I played 7 games in my 5 months. Majority of my time, I was having hot dogs and popcorn in the stands. But I like just everyday training there was just unreal. Like it was. I didn't even really complain, man. Like I was just happy to be there.
So that was
so
like,
awesome.
So that was that right after college, and then from there, is that how you got to the Fury?
No, I left school early. So I left, I was commuting. So my last 2 months at Wheaton College, I was doing all my work online, like emailing my professors all my work. So I would be on campus from Monday, and then Tuesday morning, I would jump in my car, drive the 3 hours to Long Island, make training Tuesday, train Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, play Saturday. Sunday was recovery day, typical of the time. And then drive back Sunday night to Wheaton, go to my classes on Monday, wake up Tuesday at like 5:30 in the morning, drive down to Long Island, make the 8 a.m. breakfast that we had, and then train Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, play game Sunday, go back, recover, whatever we had to do. Always something Sunday. They always, whatever. And then, so I was doing this for 2 months. So I would be on campus for one day, see all my professors, give them all the work, tell them how it's going, and then drive down to Long Island and train with the Cosmos. And that's what I did for 2 months. And then from there, they were again in the NASL when I joined them. And then that league folded. So then they went to NPSL, was there for that time. And then when that ended, they joined like the NISA Founders Cup, which was like that next. And they didn't pick me up for that. I ended up going over to Greece. My parents were going on vacation, and my mom and dad said, hey, you had a good time there. Why don't you come over here? My dad knew someone at they were in the first division. The owner ran out of money, which is, you'll find out, pretty typical as the story goes on in Greece. They ended up having to drop to third division, and I went on trial with them and ended up staying there for a little bit. One good experience. The club was ran. This is actually probably the funniest story I have. One of them is, so we're on an island. We're on the island of Lesbos, where my family's from. And we're training in Mytilene, which is like the city. And we would train up at this local grass field on the top of the mountain. So we'd have to go up to the top of the mountain, and there was a gate around the field, which then would lead to another gate, which then would lead to the locker room. So training started in Greece. We trained at 5:30 because of how hot it was. You had to be there. You had to be there at 4 o'clock. Had to be there an hour and a half before. So, okay, perfect. So we show up at 4 o'clock. The equipment manager doesn't have the key for us to get through the gate. Now, the equipment manager, all he had to do was go down the hill back to the city of Mytilene, go to the clubhouse, which was less than half a mile, guys. I could have walked there in 10 minutes, get the key, ride back up. But being Greece and how they operate, he's calling the people at the clubhouse. There's no one there because everyone that would be in the clubhouse is at training. So obviously no one's there to answer the phone. Dude, guys, we stood there for an hour waiting for the key. Finally, someone shows up with the key, comes up, unlocks the first gate. Well, they forgot the second key to the next gate. So now it's 5:30. We haven't even gotten to the training ground. So then we finally get in at 6 o'clock. We go in, we start changing. The equipment manager forgot our stuff and our shorts, okay? No soccer socks. So we had no socks to wear at the stadium, because that's where the laundry room was. Guys, we trained in our spandex, no shorts, the t-shirt that I wore to the ground because he forgot everything, and my cleats with no socks on them. The coach was so upset with the situation. He tried to do tactical stuff. They didn't turn the lights on. I couldn't see the ball, but he's yelling at us in Greek, where to be, where to stand, what we're supposed to do. I'm like, guys, that's how it was. That's how it was ran. So I played there.
Just throwing you to the fire. If you know where to be without having to look, you'll know where to be, definitely.
Dude, we had blisters. Imagine 25 men, grown men, running around in spandex, getting yelled at by some old Greek guy who would smoke a cigarette occasionally on the field, talking about tactics, and there's no lights on.
That might be how I think about Greece, before you told the story. So I don't know. What division was this at the time, and how was the level compared to what was the level to the US?
Yeah, great question. So at the time it was third division A. So in Greece they do first division, obviously Greek Super League, and then second division Group A, and then second division Group B. So you have two groups in the second division. So if you win Group B, you go to Group A, and then obviously bottom on Group A go down to B, whatever. And then Group A, the first three teams go up to first division, and they have promotion relegation. We were in the third division, Group A, and the reason they got down to the third division wasn't because they lost, because the year prior they were in the Greek Super League. It's because the owner of the team the year prior had lost all his money, didn't have any money, didn't want to do it anymore, so he just abandoned the club. And that's a rule. It's against the rules. You can't just leave the team. So the team got relegated. He didn't care. So we're third division A. The greatest, I met some great players there. There was one kid by the name of Nico. I don't know where he's playing now. I haven't talked to him in a couple of years. Amazing number 10. He was so smooth, so elegant, super skinny. The difference, the main thing was my second day there, I played a long ball over the top, typically for a winger in America to run onto, and it's a great ball. Everyone's like, sick ball, Chad. Well done, Andrew. Good idea, right?
Good ball.
Yeah, great channel ball. They loved it in America. So I'm thinking it's a great ball. I'm waiting to get praise from the coach. And I just hear him yell, "Denkano me afto," which means we don't do that here. They wanted everything to feet. So the whole game was, if I don't have to run, I'm not going to run. Everything was to feet. Everything was a hard pass into a set, then to a short pass, and you start again. So the IQ was through the roof, made it so much easier to play. The level of standard of players were phenomenal. Their first touch on the ball, no one had a bad first touch. No one ever forced anything. The whole concept of using the goalkeeper in Greece was so much higher. Like the keeper always was on the ball, was such an important part of the build-up, such an important part of the restart phase. We used to do this drill where he would put the coach would put the back four, the goalkeeper, the two. We played with a 4-2-3-1. So we had two windshield wipers or number sixes, and then he would put five guys to come press us. And he would literally we went over this over and over. It was like this cue where, like, if let's say I'm the number 6 dropping in between the center backs, I would get it into my feet. And if there was no striker coming to press me, my first option wasn't to turn. It wasn't to go to center back. It was to go right back to the goalkeeper. And we were waiting for them to jump to press, and then we would play through the press.
Yeah.
So it was complete opposite. It was like, okay, like it was a cat and mouse game. I'm going to try to bite you into a space you don't want to go to, and then I'm going to zip the ball where you just left it, and then we can go. So overall, the level was, in my opinion, was so much better.
That's a cool little piece there, because I think, people have like different ways to see the game, and like, I don't want to generalize like American soccer, but like that's something you just don't think about. And like, I think in other places, other cultures, like maybe it is in the US, that's like the tactical piece. People just think tactics is like, oh, when he gets the ball, you move here. But like, there's a whole, like, you're trying to suck them in, and like, there's cues and different, like, if you play in that kind of culture all the time, you're thinking, let me pass it back to the goalie to restart, to suck them in, and we know where we're going to go after that. Yeah. And I think that's pretty interesting to me to hear that.
Yeah, no, that's what it was. So overall, to answer your question, the level was so high. Tactically was so good. IQ for everyone there was awesome. Fitness levels, they hated running, so it was so awesome to be there. Like the preseason was a joke. Like our fitness was like a 10-minute jog around the field every day. Like it was awesome. But yeah, overall it was a great experience, and I wouldn't trade it for anything, because I learned a lot there too. And it's a different life there, man. It was so much easier, so much more relaxed. Results are definitely wanted, but at the same time, it's about how you get the results, more so just the result in itself. The coach was really a big proponent on, we get results by playing this way, or we don't want the result at all. So it was pretty neat. It was pretty fun to experience, and yeah, it was awesome.
That's cool. And then, but I'm guessing your best experience comes next. My
best
in New Jersey, South Philadelphia Fury.
Yeah, I ended up there. I don't know when, man. I actually remember my situation in Greece kind of unfolded not the way I wanted it to. And I remember I shot Matt Driver a text message because he was trying to get me to come to Fury before I went to Greece. And I was in the airport in Athens, and I just got cell service back. And I texted him saying, hey, man, I'm on my way back to America. It didn't work out here in Greece. Is there, do you have a spot? And he called me in Athens. I don't know what time it was there, because I'm 8 hours ahead. And called me. He's like, hey, can you come to the Fury next week? I'll send you your contract in the email. And I was like, sure. Like, I didn't really have any time. And I remember I stayed at his house for the first month. I stayed in Matt Driver's house. I stayed in his house with his wonderful wife. God bless her.
Right. Hey, buddy, how are you?
Yeah, how are you?
Stay in my house.
Yeah, come stay in my house. Sick house, by the way. Super cool house. So I remember our third day there, we went over like this defensive shape, and he was yelling at me because I wasn't sprinting fast enough to get in between the center backs to like cover to break the passing lane. And I was like, I don't need a sprint there. Just have the other guy. Like it was a culture shock coming back to the States. But yeah, that's why I met you. That's why I met a lot of other cool guys we had there. We had a really good time. But I love that experience because it is the epitome of minor league soccer. We're all making crap money. We were all doing a bunch of things we didn't want to do. We had a great coach. I think his name was Chris Vaccaro, right?
Yeah,
Carl.
Chris.
Amazing. Yeah, amazing person. Legend of the game. Amazing guy, amazing coach. Understood the game.
He's actually an indoor legend, like indoor soccer. He's a legend.
He is a legend. He's a legend in indoor.
Yeah.
We had him, and I remember to be fair with both of you, that's when I realized it was a job. Going to Philly made me realize this is a job, because there were more times than not that I did not want to go train there, and I never felt that before. That's when it became like a career. Like this became a job. It was cool. It was fun. But yeah, I was in Egg Harbor Township, represent Egg Harbor. Let's go.
That was a far drive too.
Dude, it was an hour each way every day. Had to go through like 10 tolls, dude. It was terrible. We were at what was the thing called we trained at? What was that place?
Total Turf.
Oh my God.
I'm
man,
there a
that place
lot
was-
now. I coach there, played in men's leagues there now too. So
Dude, I remember it was like 30 degrees and they have that beautiful indoor turf right there.
Yeah.
And he was like, nope, we're outside.
We're
I was
outside.
like,
We didn't rent the turf. We didn't pay extra for that.
oh,
And
I was
like,
like, dude, come
I'm pretty
on.
sure I explained most of this stuff on here before, like in like the early episodes of the podcast. But like the way I got hooked up with the Fury was like I was still trying to play as well, and like went to some tryouts. I figured it was a local team. Let me make connections, that kind of stuff. But like I was still in grad school too, so I was like going to classes.
That's right. That's right.
Most of the guys on the team coached to make like some extra money.
Yeah.
And especially when we weren't really in like a league, like that's how a lot of the guys made some money. So I would coach like a couple nights a week. And
I
then
remember
like,
that.
I did like my schoolwork the other couple nights. And like, it was just, yeah, it was a lot for those guys, especially a lot of the guys came like yourself, you come from another situation, like probably a higher level of playing. And you're like, oh crap, I got a coach tonight just to like make some money. And like, we're training really hard. And like, as a coach now, I think back of like those training sessions. Like first of all, I thought the trainings were really good for most of the time. And the players we had that
level
that fall were like really good.
We had some good players, man. We had Miles was very good. Miles was very good.
Like I think like some USL caliber players, like NISA caliber players. Like there's still a lot of guys that still play as well.
Yeah, like we had he's made quite a career of himself. Actually, I visited him in Florida for Gasparilla. Travis Ward. Do you remember Travis? Like he's now signed with FC Chattanooga over in NISA. And I joke with him all the time. Like he used to show up to training with a water cup from Wawa, and that was his water. Like not a Gatorade bottle, Chad. This guy would show up with a cup, a clear cup. Like imagine going to Starbucks and be like, let me get the largest cup and just fill it with ice and water. And Chad, he would put a straw in it, and that was his water for training. He would drink out of that for training. And I was just like, and now you see him, man. He played USL League One for Greenville. Then he went to the Stars, and last year he was in Stumptown AC, and now he signed with a pretty big club in Chattanooga, who will probably, if I'm not, I don't want to speak too soon, but most likely they'll end up playing in the USL League One or Championship. They have the size of the club and fans, but he's made a heck of a career for himself, and kudos to him. He deserves it. But yeah, man, we had some good players, but the experience in itself, like we played one league game against the Meriden Bobcats for the 10th time with no refs. Like the coaches.
I was at one of those games.
The coaches.
No ref one.
The coaches were the refs, man. It was call your own fouls.
Matt Driver on one line, Chris McCarroll on the other. Like, hey man, that's offsides.
Matt wasn't even there. It was just Chris and the other dude. Matt was a no-show.
Yeah.
I remember when we played again at Rowan against some team in the league at the time. And I remember I had to coach. I had to leave coaching just to make warm-ups. And I was like, this is a joke. Like we got, but I got to play, and I was getting paid the checks, even though they came sometimes late. But God bless Matt Driver, love him.
There's
great dude.
To me, that whole setup was way I think ahead of its time. I think there was a period before we got there where ASL was like fairly legit. Like there were some good teams, but now I think the Fury would have fit in well with maybe NISA or like a really strong like UPSL, NPSL kind of like year-long program. And I think like at that like kind of limbo period there where NISA didn't start, we were waiting to get into NISA. There was no other like real teams to play, just kind of like that.
Yeah, so that was my experience. I went from I went from Cosmos, and then I got loaned out to a team called Tulsa Athletic out in NPSL to get minutes. When I was with the Cosmos, they wanted me to go play. So I went out there. So I got to play there. And then I went to Greece, and then I was in Philly. So those were 4 teams in really 2 years, which was a suitcase. That's a lot of moving. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't know about minor league soccer is you're jumping around. You're trying to keep the dream alive. You're getting paid. Cosmos, I got pretty decent. They had a lot of money. So I got probably more than I was supposed to. But, I mean, whatever. It's a job, right? So then, I ended up at the Fury, got to meet you. And then it kind of, and then from there, not to jump the gun, but from there I ended up going on trial with Ford Madison in USL League One. Was there for, I want to say 3 weeks. Kind of got invited on a whim too. Went into a player, invite combine. they weren't sure about me. They're kind of on the fence. And then I got a text message like a week before preseason was supposed to start. And from Daryl Shore, great guy, shot me a text and said, "Hey, your ticket is booked for you to come next week. We'll see you on Monday at 8 a.m. Like you're going to land in Madison." And guys, I come off the plane and there's some Ford Madison fans there because they get a great crowd. Yeah. And the team, you know, they have it on the news. And I got a gift from one of these fans. I was like, I'm not even signed, but sick, dude. And this gift is like wrapped perfectly. It's big. It was a block of cheese.
I figured you were either gonna say that or like a flamingo, like a statue.
I got a pound of cheese, guys. They gave me a pound of cheese. I had 2 bites of that cheese. It just sat in my hotel room for the rest of my time there until I went to the apartment. But yeah, that was a great experience. That was League One, awesome time. Met some really cool dudes there. And then I went on to more trials, and then I went on trial with Detroit City FC, who now playing the championship. Yeah, that was awesome. Got to go meet Trevor James and Stephen Carroll and Seb, who now plays Chattanooga Red Wolves. Yeah, it was a heck of a time, man. I had a blast. It was so much fun.
I think Detroit City FC is like the coolest like setup in the country as of right now. I don't know what their end goals are, especially with like, I think they were probably too good for NISA. USL Championship seems like a good level for them, but like I kind of lucked into being with the Fury for like when they actually joined NISA for the brief, like month long that they were. Yeah. And played against Detroit City. I got paid one time to play soccer, and I made $180 playing I subbed in for 5 minutes against Detroit. I didn't touch the ball with my feet. We were down 1-0, sub in a defensive minded right back. You know, I had 2 throw-ins, committed a foul, a header, but
that's what you want.
That's cool. So like, and like, I think about that all the time. Like the experience, just going there for one day, like the smoke flying and the fans singing, like it must've been like pretty cool to see that like firsthand and like be a part of like that group.
It was man, it was sick. Like it was, you go into a place and you're at this high school. The turf isn't great. Your lower back and your mid back is always hurting every day because the turf was terrible. Random times a train would just go passing right behind the field. And they pack it out with 8,000 people, and they're screaming, and they're like, "F United States Soccer." They know the names of the opposing players. They're sending out players. Like,
I was about to sub in, and they were like heckling me. It's like,
it's like, dude, it's, and the coolest thing about all that too, it isn't like, it's not even the playing aspect, or it's not even like the fact that you're putting on that jersey. It's the fact that those people love it. Like they live for it. Like those people circle a Saturday and say, "I'm going to watch Detroit City FC," and it makes their week. And it was so fun. And my little time there, COVID came into an aspect and that kind of messed things up. But my little time there, that I was fortunate enough to put on my cleats and wake up every day and live in that area and play and so on, was awesome. Like I wouldn't trade it for the world. I met the coolest people there. Trevor James is a phenomenal coach. He's in a lot of ways, he was a very tactical minded person, but at the same time, he gave a lot of freedom to his players to kind of have trust in them. Obviously, within the lines that he created and the things that he wanted to accomplish in the game. He has a cool background too. He won a Champions League with Barcelona as the head scout. He coached LA Galaxy.
That's the English head coach. He's still the head coach, right?
Yeah, yep. He was the interim head coach for LA Galaxy when David Beckham was there. Like, he's got a heck of a resume. Wow. And his wife's a wonderful lady. She did all the stuff for the club, got us our breakfast and lunch and stuff like that. Wonderful person. It was so cool. Like, it was such an atmosphere. If I could have played for one club for 10 years, it'd be Detroit City. Like, if I could do what the captain, Steph Carroll's doing, get married, have a house there, 2 beautiful dogs, and make a heck of a career like he's made. Shout out to Steve Carroll, Stephen, but they call him Steve Carroll, whatever. I would do that. I would sign I would sign a lifetime contract with Detroit.
That's the big guy in the back, right?
Yeah, number 5. No, the other guy's Matt Lewis. He came from, he actually played Cosmos and then played indoor and then got picked up, and now he's there. So it was so cool, man. Like, it was awesome. And then Javi was the assistant. I think he's still there. I'm not sure if he's he's still there. Super good dude. Nice guy. Yeah, dude. Awesome dude. Good guy. Oh, you guys met him, or?
No, I just know him from YouTube because he has a YouTube channel where he posts a bunch of trainings and stuff.
Oh man, his sessions were good. He would always run the warm ups, and he kind of sometimes would overdo it with the cones. But I love him. Love that guy.
So
He's
that
awesome.
was like leading into the 2020 season. Is that when like COVID?
When COVID hit. Yeah, so I kind of that situation. COVID kind of impacted me. It kind of impacted some other people too, but ended up COVID happening and had to come back home. And then when they went back to the bubble, I didn't get brought back. Just cost, and they were able to film some spots with local kids, and just made more sense financially for the club. And again, it's a minor league team, so they're not made out of money, and they have to run it. It's a business. That's the biggest thing that people should learn. That trying to be a pro athlete or at any sport, it's a job. Like the people you turn on the TV and watch, whether it's Messi, Ronaldo, Tony Cruz, whoever you watch that you circle to watch today, Man City, Real Madrid, regardless if they make hundreds of millions of dollars a year, that's how they feed their families. That's how they drive those sick Lambos and whatnot. Like it's a job. And if they don't perform, they don't get paid. And if they don't, they don't perform, they don't get a contract. If they suck, then the coach gets it's a job.
Yeah.
But at this point, I kind of knew that I became, again, it was a job at that point. I knew exactly what I was doing. I knew what I signed up for. So it was a great experience for sure. It was awesome. I loved every second.
Going into it as like, this is my quote unquote, like tryout for the team. Like if I don't perform in this preseason or this friendly, like I'm not getting signed, or was it like we're already signed?
No, I wasn't signed. I went in on trial, stayed around. Kevin Venegas, who played in MLS for Minnesota and ASL too for them, kind of was like, hey man, you know how I signed for Minnesota? I was like, no, you got drafted? He's like, no, I just didn't leave. I was like, what do you mean you didn't leave? He's like, they were like, we don't want to sign you. I just stayed in a hotel and I just kept trying to train. And I kind of did the same thing. I just wouldn't leave. Like Trevor wasn't sure about me. And instead of a lot of kids would be like, oh, you don't like me, I'll leave. I was just like, okay, I'll stay till you figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's how it happened. Just stayed. And then at that point, you're either gonna take the coach's thing. Like my biggest advice to anyone going in on trial to any club is don't allow the coach's decision to be an easy one. Meaning if the coach is like, oh, I'm not sure about you, don't take it personal. He's not sure. Stay around. Just stay. If you have to put yourself up in a hotel for a week and pay the $800, if it means that much to you, you'll do it. And fortunate enough, I didn't have to do that. I was in one of the apartments with Bakey Goodman. Awesome player from Georgetown, got drafted, played for the Pittsburgh Riverhounds. He's a cool dude. Married now to proposed fiance. Awesome experience there. So I went in on trial. Fortunate enough, stayed around long enough. I fooled someone else to give me another chance to keep the dream alive, and I got to keep going.
That's cool.
That's fun, yeah, for sure.
That was probably after like that kind of shutdown. That was probably the longest you went without playing. How did you get back into it, and what was kind of like?
Yeah, it was tough, dude. I came back home to Maine, came back here, and I was fortunate enough. I have quite a bit of network of people that I know, and one of the gentlemen that owned one of the indoor complexes here allowed me to gave me a code where I could go in. So I'd wake up, just typical day, would wake up 7 a.m., go train by myself or another buddy who was playing over in Sweden at the time, from like 7:45 to 9 o'clock. And then would go work out, and then I would do that every day. So I'd stay fit, was staying fit. My agent at the time, Tony Porch, got me in some other trials when everything opened back up. So I went on trial with I went on a USL League One trial. Where did I go? Not Ford Madison. Excuse me. I went on an invite trial. Again, with Chattanooga Red Wolves. Jimmy Odella. They're now first in the league. He's done a heck of a job. Went in there. They had me playing center back. Again, not my position. Did well enough to earn another, to go back in preseason. Ended up being there for 2 weeks. Didn't work out. Then from there, ended up going on trial. There was another stop I did. Where did I end up? I went to, I'm drawing a blank on it now. USL Championship team, and I'm drawing a blank. I think they folded. It was El Paso. No, not El Paso. It might have been El Paso.
El Paso Locomotive?
Yeah, they fold, or are they still around? El Paso Locomotive?
Yeah, they're pretty good.
I think. What was the one that folded? There was a team that folded. I'm drawing a blank on them right now. Whatever. I went on trial with the USL Championship side. Was there for a week. Just didn't fit in. And then I went on an invite trial with Charlotte Independence. with Mike Jeffries. So now I've been on 4 trials in about 5 months. Was there for a week. I did well. I've only scored maybe 5 goals in my bouncing around as a pro. And one of them, I'm going to say I scored 6 now because I scored in one of the preseason friendlies that I was a part of. And I don't score. Like, guys, that's not in my game. So I thought I did well, fit in. I was a good, at that point, I was trying to be a morale guy. So I'm trying to make sure the water bottles were filled, the locker room's good music.
I've
Trying
been
to get
there
the boys.
before too. Sometimes you just got to kind of embrace the morale guy, the hype beast, just clap your teammates up.
Dude, you gotta add things into your game. And I think that's the other thing too, that all these kids, I think so I went on trial there and then didn't work out. And then when I was on trial there, Rod Underwood was, that's when Stumptown AC was being put together. And I ended up staying there for about a month on trial with them. And it just didn't work out financially on both sides. The money I got offered, I thought I should have got more. They didn't have more. And we went back and forth. And that was really the beginning of their fall season in Nisa, and then spring came back around, went back out again because one of their center mids got hurt. And it just for whatever reason, it didn't work out, and that happens. And then again, went on a little break, and then went on a trial with Flower City Union, and decided that was the time. But so yeah, to answer your thing, that gap in between was the longest I ever went out without playing, and I just trained, ran. Mentally was draining, was the worst. It was tough. I brought you down a windy road there. I kind of went off topic, but
that's like, I think people are just up for, like, if you're going to have to do this, like, you got to just be up for like any experience. Like,
dude, the amount of,
this is like me at like a lower, like, at a lower level. Like, so this summer I played for Atlantic City FC, and like, I didn't intend to get that far into it, but I knew the general manager. I stayed in touch with him, and like I went to a couple of practices thinking like, I'll go or whatever. And like, I really liked the coach. I was learning a lot, and I was just like, I'll just go for the experience. Like, I enjoy the experience and what's going on. So like, if you enjoy it, like, I think people kind of, they look at it as like, is it a success or failure? Well, it's like, success is not necessarily like signing a contract or getting this amount of appearances. Like, you could just go, it doesn't work out, but you'd be like, that was a win for me. Like, because I like
exactly. Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. I think the biggest thing that, again, any kid that listens to this or anyone that listens, and you guys, Chad, I know you're playing indoor, and congrats on doing that and playing at that pro level. That's
M3 legend.
That's so sick. And I know, Andrew, you dabbled in the pro game also, and next kudos to you guys, who you guys are as people, right? Like, you're going to hear the word no in this type of profession more than you'll hear yes, especially when you don't get drafted and you're a Division III guy and you kind of have to go to trials and so on. But it's all about just like taking positives from every experience and learning the intangibles. Like I wasn't a great example. I always played everything within a 20-yard radius. And one of the biggest things I focused on that time when I was back home with a buddy was getting in the habit of being able to open my hips and hitting a 70-yard long ball. And when I got signed again and played again, that was the biggest attribute to my game. I was able to get the ball in deep pockets out of the back and hit a long ball to an outside back running forward into space. And it opened a lot of eyes and gave me a lot of more opportunities that I mean, I shouldn't have been on trial in the USL Championship. I wasn't as athletic enough. It was my brain that got me in those places. But that's the biggest thing, learning intangibles. And sometimes it is being a hype guy. Sometimes it is being a guy who's the team DJ and making sure the guys in the corner that only speak Spanish, they hear J Balvin and Bad Bunny, and making sure the guys that are Russian, they hear their Russian music, or making sure the guys that are, from Brazil, they hear the Portuguese music, or making sure the guys from Iceland are me, the Greek guy, make a Greek song in there. Like, if you really want to play in this game, especially at USL Championship, Nisa, USL League One, where the average contract's $2,000 a month, and you love it and you're willing to do that, you got to find other things to find your way to stay there. And I got to do it for a lot longer than I ever anticipated, and it was because of that. And I will never. Sometimes I think of it as a sense of I was in a bubble, and I lived in that bubble, and you get protected, right? And I'll never change it for the world, man. It was so much fun. I got to meet amazing people like yourself, Andrew, and now Chad. I got to meet you also. But yeah, it was a great experience for sure. I'll never anyone should do it. I highly recommend it. I highly recommend it for sure. You light go out over there or what?
Yeah, I know. I set up a light because it gets dark here. Let me.
Wow, you're good. You're good, man.
Yeah,
You're good.
the laptop that I plugged it into died, so now I'm in the dark.
No, you're fine. Yeah, like that.
Oh no, I got it back.
Yeah, love that. Love that. That's awesome.
So like for me, when I was playing, let's say I wasn't playing well, or like sometimes, like for me, there were a lot of times where I was like, all right, I'm not at this level, and I know it, but like I'm learning things and just taking in the experience. How do you do that? Since you said like you don't coach, you don't really want to coach right now. Like, are you just done? Or do you just like to kind of study the game and be around it?
So when I came back from playing, I was coaching a high school team here at NYA, North Yarmouth Academy. It's a prep school in Maine, with another person who played the USL Championship. His name is Matt Williams. Was a goalkeeper, played at Cincinnati, then played 3 years in the USL Championship. Probably the best goalkeeper that's ever walked through the state of Maine. Heck of a golfer also. He said, I can't believe I just said that. He's going to I'm going to get a text from him when this gets released. Okay. And we coached, and I loved it. I really did love it. And not that I think I'll end up going to get more of my badges. So I hold some U.S. soccer coaching badges. At the moment, I got the first 1, 2, 3. So I think it's A, B, C, D. I'm in the process of getting a D. I was able to kind of skip some levels and whatever, just from playing backgrounds and emailing some people and so on and so forth. But I love the game. I truly enjoy it. I love coaching it. It's something that I thought I was going to want to do the moment I stopped playing. My whole dream, guys, and I'll tell you and I'll share it to you, was to play at the highest level possible. So it was the easiest for me to become a pro coach at the highest level. Mm-hmm. So if that means I played USL Championship, well, then perfect. That means my into USL Championship would be in, and I would be able to be a coach. Mm. There's something about doing the same thing since I was really 3 years old. It just came to a point, like I mentioned, it became a job for me. Mm. And a little bit, I got burnt out, right? You're doing the same thing every day for 9 months. And if you're not signed, you're training on your own. You're not really having a job. You're not really living like a social life. And it was time for me to right now I've just kind of stepped away. Now, the way I kind of learn from the game, I do a lot of reading about it. So one of the books I highly recommend, if you haven't, there's 3 or 2 books on Pep Guardiola. First one when he was at Bayern Munich, and I can send you guys it after. The second one, they just wrote about his first season at Man City. I've read both of those cover to cover. And then a lot of the times I watch a lot of soccer, Premier League, La Liga. Mm-hmm. I like to watch 3 things about a game every time. Oh, hopefully my battery doesn't die here. I like to watch 3 things about a game every time. So I'll watch over as the game progresses. I'll pick up on the cues. For example, I'll use Man City, their breakout phase today. So they played a 4-3-3. They played with John Stones on the right back until he got injured. Mm-hmm. And it became really a 3-4-3 with John Stones coming inside and being another number 6. Mm-hmm. So I like to watch the build-up. I like to watch the 8 and 10s and the positions they put themselves in. And then I like to watch the 3 front movements. So majority of the times when I watch soccer, I'm not even watching the ball. I'm watching everyone's movements. And that's how I kind of keep my learn more. And I take a lot of notes. So it's
more fun that way too. If you get out of the habit of watching the ball, it's way more fun to watch guys like scanning around and
it's a game of chess, man. But so to answer your question, I will watch a lot of soccer. I have the aspirations. I will get back into coaching. I probably within the next 2 months or so especially if I'm in Maine for the summer, I'll probably get back into coaching teams and so on. I was coaching quite a bit when I stopped and won a couple of tournaments, which was really fun. But it's really just watching a lot of soccer, reading a lot, taking a lot of notes, different ideas from different coaches. And that's how I kind of stay in the game. And then I play a lot of golf, man. I've been playing a lot of golf. Retired life isn't bad. I don't have to run anymore. Don't have to, be that crazy kid who's running all the time and watching what he eats and going to bed at whatever. So
that's nice. Competitive itch. I always to me, like playing, like you kind of compete all the time. But now I find I always find the fact that I could go coach a team.
Yep.
And like I could work towards a long-term goal. So if you're playing, you're working towards like winning a game or earning a spot or something like that. But like when I'm coaching, especially a young team, I could be like, I want to work towards a long-term goal. This player developing, that player developing. So like that kind of like fulfills it for me, and everybody kind of sees that differently. So it's cool that you're trying different things as well.
Yeah, man. My whole thing is I wanted to just give all the knowledge I got from all the people I met onto kids. So every time I coach, I try to try to coach the game in the way I want it to be played. So I'm a firm believer in having the ball. If I have the ball, I don't have to defend and I can attack.
Yep.
And I also don't believe that there's no reason why the ball should not be spread around and played one touch, two touch, hot potato, really. And then it's all about just putting yourself into space and then just playing cat and mouse throughout the whole time. Meaning, if I'm an outside back, if I send my outside backs as a coach and I start them 10 yards higher, well, that means the outside midfielder from the other team is 10 yards further back.
Yep.
If my outside back is making runs into the offensive third or overlapping or whatever the case is, that midfielder has to follow him. If he doesn't follow him, then it's a 2v1. We have an overload. We can play 2v1s. If he does follow him, the moment the team wins the ball, now that winger has to run 90 yards.
Yeah.
You tell me any guy who can run 90 yards for 90 minutes, and I'll probably ask him to take a steroids test. But like, it's just simple things like that. Just putting guys in spaces where the other people that you're playing against have to either check their shoulders or they have to go stand with them. And if they stand with them, then we bop into that space.
Yep.
If they don't stand with them, then take the space until someone commits to you. When someone commits, well, then he's out of space. He's out of position. The guy goes into position. The guy just left, and you play around him. It's the simplest game in the world. For whatever reason, people want to complicate it.
Yeah.
I think Johan Cruyff said the best quote. The game of soccer or football, he said, most likely, God rest his soul. The game of football is the simplest game to play in the world, but it's hard to play simple football. And I think it's so easy, man. This game is so easy. Like, if you just tune it on a TV and watch Man City or Ajax, I really like watching them. Xavi's doing better with Barcelona. I think another good team that I really enjoy watching is in Italy. I like watching AC Milan. I like watching Napoli. Chelsea's interesting to watch at times. I like Tottenham. The game is so simple. It's so easy, man. It's one ball, 11 guys, and it's a game of chess.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's
and
awesome.
You could tell, like, if you get back into coaching, you're probably more towards the higher level players rather than the.
Yeah, I mean, I would prefer to coach kids that. I mean, the last team I coached when I came back to Maine was the U17 boys. It was the second team on the boys team. And there were some very good players there. And my whole idea was I had to pick one. There was one kid that was playing out of position. He was supposed to be a number 6. The coach before him had him playing outside back. And I said, no. You're a number 6, bud. Like, you're just a number 6. Like, there's just that kid. He was so clean on the ball, so smooth, understood the game. I said, you're going to come play number 6 for me. He's like, but coach, I'm not good at tackling. And I was like, well, doesn't matter. Just I'll help you out, and we're going to play our game through you. And it changed the whole team environment. And he loved it. He would come in between the center backs, pick up the ball deep in our build-up. And then I taught him the biggest thing that I tried to get across to him was being comfortable getting the ball, quote unquote, your podcast's name, on the half turn, in between the two center backs, and either being able to spin your hips and driving the ball forward until someone commits. And I think that's the hardest thing for a kid to be comfortable with at 16, 17, dribbling until someone commits to you. And it's okay if the ball does not go forward. It's okay that guy just committed to you and you step on the ball and you go backwards and we start again. And it's so fun to watch because when it clicks, oh man, it's sick. Like,
I like easy. How you obviously like how you threw in the name of the podcast there, but I really think we got lucky with the name of the podcast because we threw around some other ideas too. And On the Half Turn is definitely the coolest one, but there's also like a modern need for, like, a lot of people talk about like the third man runner or runs in behind or this or that. Like, it all like kind of comes from On the Half Turn. On the Half Turn can mean a lot of things. Like, you could be like technically half turn just to see more of the field to receive the ball properly going forward, or half turn to like unlock different spaces. Like the half turn will never die. And like, if you're doing it right, it'll just, like, you get a half turn, run in behind, half turn, spray it wide, half time. Like, so like, I think it's cool that
it all springs off that, man. I think it all springs off the half turn. And then I think the biggest thing that I take away from my experiences and what I want to pass on to kids is, especially in a country like America, it's okay to go backwards and start again.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have to go forward all the time. Yes, the first thing you should always try to do is when you're on the ball is look as far as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And if it makes sense, play it because you can break lines and so on and so forth. But if it's not on, man, let's step on it. Let's go backwards. Let's start again. In my opinion, the game of soccer is try your best to suck the team, as many of their players you can, into one side or one area. And then as quickly as you can, go play in the side that they just left.
Yeah. Chad, does that sound like build pressure, break pressure?
Yeah, it sounds very familiar to what we just.
Chad and I were working with this one coach, and he just kept saying build pressure and then break pressure, and he said it over and over again, which it's true, like it's a good principle, but it's just funny that he kept saying it, build pressure, break pressure.
Ingrained in my head now.
I don't ever want to just build it to build pressure. Like I always think that. And to go off that's a really good comment. I think that's brilliant what the guy said. I think that's hilarious. My whole thing was it's just again, it's a cat and mouse game, man. Like if you watch Neymar, he's the epitome of it. This guy is the epitome of a cat and mouse game. If you go watch Neymar and you watch him play out wide, first thing that you should notice is that he literally stands, and Marcelo did this when Marcelo was in his prime at Real Madrid. Mm-hmm. He would stand outside the white line. He's basically standing out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you think that winger's doing? That winger's like, what the hell is this guy doing? Why is he staying out of bounds? So the winger probably switches off maybe, and then he comes in, and he's using so far much of the field that there's so much space.
Yeah.
But Neymar is so good at, like, he brings the guy with him, checks one time, doesn't get it, checks another time, doesn't get it. And on the third time, he goes to check. Well, what do you think that defender is going to go do now? He's going to follow him. Yeah. And now the space is where? And behind him.
Yep.
It's a game of cat and mouse. That's all this game is. All 11 players. It's a game of cat and mouse. It's the same thing with the two center backs and the striker. It's the same thing with the three center midfielders. Where, like, if I'm on number 6 and I'm playing against Chad, who's the other team's number 10, most likely Chad as a number 10 probably does not want to defend. That's why he's the number 10. And if I can pull him out of that space, if I can pull him out of that space that he's standing in, well, my center back then can break the line by playing into an 8. I can spin off Chad, get the ball by a set from the number 8, and then I can play the game wherever I want to play because I'm facing forward now.
Yep.
It's just so many things. The game, it's for me, that's what the game is. It's a game of chess.
Brings me back to the patterns back in the Fury days. I'm sure you remember the patterns.
I don't even want to talk about that.
I actually really enjoyed those. Those were fun when we really got it pinging. Like, dudes are just blasting balls at you. You're just turning and setting, and guys were flying. Yeah. It was fun.
I agree. It was fun for sure, man. Yeah. Honestly, it was. Looking back on it now, this is really, guys, and I thank you so much for having me on. Mm-hmm. This is really the most I've been able to sit down and chat with someone else and look back on my playing days. And I didn't even get all through of all of them. Yeah. I have so many stories too. But you guys are doing a heck of a podcast. This is awesome. What you guys have created and the platform you guys have created and the name is great. And I don't think there's two better people to do it. Andrew, you were a heck of a player when you were playing. And I think I met you in a time where you had so many other things in your life going on. You had that sick new Jeep that you had somehow. I don't know what you were doing with that Jeep. And you're in grad school, which I didn't even want to go to college originally. Chad, pleasure, man. I'm happy that you're doing well and playing, and play as long as you can. Play as long as you can, man.
I think Chad should just buy into the indoor legend, kind of like Chris Vaccaro.
Yeah. Chad, play as long as you can, man. Play as long as you can.
Me and Andrew always joke around how, like, you hit indoor prime at, like, 30 years old. Like,
are you there right now? Are you signed there right now?
What's up?
Are you signed there right now? Is that where you're at?
I played with an MASL 3 team during the winter.
Okay. That's sweet. Good for you.
It wasn't fully professional.
Whatever, man. The next step's the MASL. Yeah. Good for you, bro. Enjoy it, man.
My thinking was, like, this is a good, like, obviously kind of deep dive into some of your career, went off on some good topics. And then maybe like at some point, World Cup's kind of far down the road, but maybe there's like other games where we kind of like get on here and talk about, or like we find some news that we want to talk about. So like we got, I don't know if you listen to the other podcast with my friend Mike, he came on a few times. And we just kind of talked about his journey. And then the next one we talked about the Euros, or like, you know, if there's ever something like,
Dude, guys, if I'm willing to come on this podcast and talk soccer with you and mix in the golf talk here and there with Chad, I'm in to come on this podcast anytime. Like, if you guys called me tomorrow and said, hey, we're recording at 7 a.m., I will be back from the gym at 7:30 tomorrow. I will be on this podcast again. So I am available anytime you guys want.
Your soccer podcast on the half turn. Chad's golf podcast will be in the sand bunker or something.
Sweet. Sweet. I like that. In the sand bunker.
In the sand bunker.
Brilliant, man.
Yeah, thanks for hopping on and talking, and we'll do more of this stuff as we go on too, because like we've been fairly inconsistent with episodes, and we want to kind of get back to like episodes that don't always have to be current, right? We don't always want to react to something. So like if there's ever like a topic you think would be like a good one, like if it's something with youth development, or like we talked about college soccer or something, and we could really dive into it, that'd be perfect.
Yeah, no, I'm in to do it. I'm in to dive in about different tactics, coaching styles, ideas, different phases of the game that we think are more important than others. I'm all for it. So I can't thank you guys enough. This was so much fun. Chad, enjoy again, man. Play as long as you can play, man. If that means you're playing USL League 2 and getting paid under the table and you're paying your bills, play, man. Play as long as you can. And that's a thing too in USL League 2. They pay guys under the table. That's
100%. Yeah, I heard
that's a story for another time. I can get into that with you guys for sure too. So, gentlemen, thank you again.
All right.
Chad, thanks for having me on. Andrew, nice seeing you again. Keep in touch.
If we're in the Philly area, or if we're ever up in Maine, we'll hit the links.
Yeah, if we're ever up in Maine.
Well, no, I think I'm going to be moving closer to you guys here soon. So
yeah, back closer. Sounds good, man.
Most likely. All right, boys. Have a wonderful night.
Dimitri.
Thank you again.
Right,
see you, boys. Bro.